Hey y'all. So today I am going to talk about such an important topic. It has been so very important to me, and I hope that you get something from this. I'm going to talk about what to ask your midwives or birth center if you are looking into a home birth or a birth center birth. Okay? These are some things that I wish I had have asked to one of the birth centers that I was registered to birth with, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and why I think it is just so important for you to ask these questions. Okay, so I have a list of my top questions. These are all questions that I asked, all right, because I thought they were important. And the second time around, finding my second birth center, I was really interested in making sure that I found the right place to birth at, and I wanted to make sure that I asked the right questions. Okay, so the first one, so some of you may know one of my other videos that the birth center that I was originally going to go through closed. All right, and that was devastating. I was so upset. I didn't get a call from anyone. They sent out a generic email, and I was just feeling really hurt and really disappointed, honestly. And I was like, what? You're closing, but you knew that you were going to close when you accepted me as a client. Why would you do that to me? That is just so mean. So the very first question that you need to ask your birth center is, whether you're doing a home birth or birth center birth, is, are you going to close anytime soon? Okay, because what's happening is that there are a lot of practices where the midwives are getting older and they need to retire, and younger midwives do not want to take the responsibility of having these practices. Okay, and of course it is not all of them, but it happened to me, so don't let it happen to you. Don't get caught in a situation where you're scrambling around trying to find a midwife or birth center at the last minute. It's not fun. And luckily I wasn't very close to my due date, so I still have time to find someone. But who wants to go through that stress when they're pregnant? Nobody. Okay, so the second question is, do you do home births? So if you are at a birth center, which is most likely who you're going to find at a birth center, you're going to ask, do you do home births? Or if you're just finding a midwife in general, you're going to ask, do you do home births? Okay, for me, that's very important, especially during these coronavirus times, and a lot that a lot is going on in the world right now, and no matter what my feelings about it are, I just don't really know, and I don't want to expose my child to something unnecessarily, and I don't want to expose myself to something unnecessarily, or my husband or my friends and family members that I want to be around. So make sure you ask if they do home births. Okay, a home birth for me is important because I want to be more in control of what is going on, and I want to make sure that I have a stable place to birth my child. So I'm really excited about that. The second question is, do you do water births? Okay, there's a lot of information and research out on water births these days. So if you are interested, take a look. I'll link something in the description box below. But a water birth could be really important. One of the reasons people do water births is to make sure you don't tear, okay? And tearing really just means that the space between your vagina and perineum rips. Okay, the baby's head might just be big. And if you are like me with a husband who has a big head, this question is important for you. Or if you are just having a big baby. Okay, I asked one of the birth centers, they tell me they birthed an 11-pound baby, y'all. 11 pounds. Oh my goodness. So ask if they do water births. It has also been shown that people that do water births tend to have an easier time laboring because you're relaxed, you're comforted, you're soothed, and you have a less likely chance of tearing because your body has been in the water. Okay, so if you don't want to birth in the water, you could just labor in the water. All right, so ask if they do that. And then ask if there's a birthing pool that they recommend. There are plenty of rentals that you can rent. I'm deciding to invest in my own birth pool, and I'll link the video to what birth pool I go for. But it could be a good investment for you, or it could be something that you just want to rent. Okay, so ask if they have any recommendations. You could also ask about the vitamin K shot and antibiotic ointment. And if you're like me, you want to know everything that is going into your baby. Okay, I want to know why, who, what, when, where, why, how. I want to know it all. All right, so ask about the vitamin K shot and the antibiotic ointment for their eyes. You can ask, how do you deliver the placenta? Okay, that could be something really important. You want to make sure. Some people, will yank on it. Some people will let it move naturally. And so depending on what your comfort level is, make sure you are aware of what your midwives or your birth center's practice is. Can I choose who catches the baby? Okay, and it seems like something that would just be natural, like that you can choose, but many people don't. Many people, the first thing their baby feels is these gloves when he or she comes into the world. And I want to make sure that my child is held by my spouse's hands, or my hands, or my mother's hands, or my mother-in-law's hands when he first comes into the world. That is very important to me. I don't want him felt up by rubber gloves, unless it's an absolute emergency or something like that. You want to know what your insurance covers. Okay, that's going to be a big one, because each birth center is different, and each insurance carrier is different, and each, depending on the type of insurance that you have. So just make sure you ask what you're responsible for. What are going to be your financial responsibilities after whatever is covered by your insurance? What other supplies do I need? So at one birth center, the one that's closing, they didn't give me a list of different supplies that I need. But at this birth center, they've provided a very comprehensive list of different supplies that I need, which I like because I want to be prepared for whatever may happen. All right, the next one is, will the midwife that I see be the midwife that is going to birth me? Because a lot of times at these birth centers, they have various women who are part of their practice. And from what I've gathered, that you will not be seen by just one midwife. A lot of them try to make sure that you are seen by all the midwives, so that whoever it is that delivers your baby, you're comfortable with them. So make sure you know what their policy is for that. And if you are going to have a chance to meet all of the women or all of the midwives who could potentially birth your baby. Okay? How long do you wait to clamp the cord? And a follow-up to that would be, do you all participate in blood banking, if that's something that you're interested in? Okay, so clamping the cord and blood banking could be something that could be really important to you and your family. Okay, for me, I want to make sure my baby gets all the blood from the placenta. That's his blood. Let him take it. Why take it from him? Why clamp early? That's my philosophy. Do you require any birthing classes? Okay, so I think birthing classes are just a really good thing to do in general. I have not yet done mine, but time is closing in, and so I will be doing them, and I'll link you and let you know what class I decided to go with and why. Okay, but I think preparation is definitely key. And if they do require birthing classes, do they have any recommendations? Because during this coronavirus time, sadly, everybody is closed and nobody is seeing in-person clients, and so the same is true for a lot of birthing classes. They are not meeting up, and a lot of them, it's not even legal right now, more than 10 people. So, and people don't feel safe, which is logical. So just see if you can get any recommendations for that. If you are going to be at a birth center, how long can I stay after I give birth? Because you would be surprised. The number of hours you can stay varies, and it is hours. Okay, it's not like the hospital where you can choose to stay for days. It's hours, and then they send you on your merry little way. All right, And if you are deciding to do a home birth, you want to know how long do the midwives stay after birth, or how long do the birthing assistants, if they are providing a birthing assistant, how long do they stay after you give birth? What's that procedure look like? And we mentioned tearing earlier. So if you do happen to tear, do you do stitches on the spot? How does that look? Is everybody trained properly to do stitches? Which more likely than not, they're midwives, so they are. But, you know, just to be reassured, how does that look? And then I'll save that one for last. We'll come back to that one. Where am I being transferred in case of an emergency? Okay, so some birth centers may have you register with the closest hospital, but you want to know, where am I going to be transferred? What are your procedures in case of an emergency? You know, it's just things happen and you just never know, and so you want to be prepared for that. I know my birth centers told me that in case anything happens, you have to be ready to let your birth plan go and to get your baby and you out alive, and that is the bottom line, essentially. So another question is, what are their induction methods and at what week do they induce? Okay, because you may not be comfortable with the way some people induce, and you know, maybe you want to take a more natural route like I do. So it's really important for me to know that, just in case he decides to come when he want to come. Okay, and the final one, which is a very important one, it's a little grim, but it has to be asked, y'all, because this is just life. The final one is, what percentage of babies die during home births or birth center births? Okay, and why? Because as a first-time mother, I'm not familiar with what happens, you know, on a personal level, what happens during the birth, and I've never attended a birth before, and I want to know, you know, what is the likelihood that my child would not make it if I decide to do a home birth or a birth center birth. And I know that for a lot of women, if you are doing a birth center birth, you have to be a low risk birth, and which makes it less likely that you're going to have any complications. But at the same time, just be prepared, y'all. Okay, there are no silly questions. The silly question is the one that didn't get asked. So those are my questions. If you have some questions that I may have missed, please drop it in the comment box. Let me know, because I want to be an informed mom. I want to birth a healthy child, and I want to be safe during my birth, and I want a relaxing birth, and I hope the same for all of you. All right. So I hope you learned something from this, and there's something of value. If you did, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you're doing. Are you doing a birth center birth? Are you doing a home birth, a water birth? You know, what's your plan? Let me know, y'all. Until next time, peace and love.